Hello reptile friends and welcome back to my channel. My name is India, aka Anacondiac, and today's video I thought I would tell you the story of my lovely little rescue corn snake called Tiny. So I have here in my hands the lovely little Tiny, who is probably going to try and bite me at some point in this video because she is not yet used to being handled. So this is Tiny. I have had her for approximately 9 weeks now.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
So this is Tiny. I have had her for approximately 9 weeks now, since the 18th of December. And she is my little Christmas miracle. She thinks she's so very scary. She loves to waggle her tail at me, but she does need to be handled every day to get used to handling. Yeah, she doesn't enjoy being handled very much, but we are attempting to socialise her and get her used to handling so she doesn't wiggle as much, but she loves to waggle her tail at me and pretend to be a little rattlesnake, but she is not convincing anybody. And in all honesty, I wasn't entirely sure she was going to pull through. I had gone to buy my live food for my lizards, as I do every single week. The pet shop that I go to had one little corn snake left and he hadn't sold her. And that was Tiny, and he hadn't sold her because she was very, very sickly looking. It was so awfully cold in that shop, and even though she had a heat mat on her, she wasn't looking good. She hadn't eaten for weeks and weeks and weeks, as long as the pet shop had had her. And she was also covered head to tail in stuck shed. I don't know if you can see, but she is doing a fearsome little tail waggle. Isn't she so beautiful? But yeah, when I saw her in the pet shop, she looked so sick. If you've ever seen a really sick animal, then you will know what I'm talking about. They just have a look about them. It was also really freezing in the shop. She had a heat mat under her tank, but it wasn't really doing much at all because it was just freezing cold outside. It was December, the middle of winter. She was so cold, no wonder she wasn't eating. She was just absolutely miserable, and I honestly, looking at her then, I didn't think she was going to survive. So I bought my lizard food. I was with my mum, so we started walking back to the car, and I turned to her and was like, I can't leave her there. As an animal lover, I can't leave that snake there. So I went back and basically asked him to give her to me. If you ever want to rescue an animal from a situation like that, please don't pay for the animal, because then you are only funding it and you're going to encourage the pet shop to buy more animals and to sell more sick animals. So please, if you are ever in that situation, don't pay for it. I paid £5 for Tiny, and that basically covered a carrier for her because I didn't have anything on me to take her home, you know, in the freezing cold. I literally just had like my coat on me and my purse. That was all I had. So I paid £5 for a carrier and some really tiny mice for her, because the only mice and rats I had in my freezer were for my larger snakes. I had nothing that would have been okay for her. Yeah, if you are ever in that situation, don't pay for an animal. Don't do it. Unfortunately, you are only going to fund the continued cycle of the pet shop or wherever purchasing and selling sick animals. So nothing will change if you purchase a sick animal. Unfortunately, you are contributing to the problem. Even if you are rescuing that one individual animal, you are contributing to the overall wider problem. So I have a lovely little snake bracelet. No, don't focus on my face. Nobody wants to see my face, they want to see you. How gorgeous is Tiny? I absolutely adore her. She is just a normal corn snake, no fancy morph here, but she is stunning. She really is stunning. I don't believe that a snake has to be a fancy morph in order to be beautiful. You don't need to pay hundreds of pounds for a fancy morph for it to be beautiful. All snakes are beautiful, just as they are. You know, I love all my ball pythons that have fancy morphs, and I love Tiny, the normal corn snake who was free, just as much. So even though Tiny is still very, very tiny, as you can see, she's like not even as wide as my pinky finger. In 9 weeks she has grown so much. So I weighed her last week in my weighing all my reptiles video, which I will link just at the top, and she weighed 6 grams. Although that is so small, when I first got her she didn't even register on the scale. She was so light that the scale wouldn't pick her weight up. So after we brought her home from the pet shop and we got her in the warm, I had all the spare things to make her a little tank, so I made her a quarantine setup. What I did was I bathed her to get all the stuck shed off. I don't really have any footage of her. Literally the only picture I have is this one, which I took before putting her in her quarantine enclosure, just to show how small she was and how like emaciated. I mean, she was starving, she was really sick. So I bathed her and got all the stuck shed off and then moved her to the quarantine enclosure. So it took, I would say, about an hour of good soaking to get all this stuck shed off it. It looked like she had at least one layer, maybe two in some parts. She was just like grey. Her colours are so bright now. She's just so lovely red and orange and maroon. She looks like a completely different snake now. And then once all the stuck shed was off, I popped her in her quarantine tub and I left her there for a couple of days. I didn't handle her, I didn't do anything, I just left her there for a couple of days to kind of recover from the stress. I didn't want to leave her the full week because, in all honesty, I wanted to start feeding her as soon as I could. So I left her probably about 4 or 5 days, and then I started to try and feed her. So I did the usual, you know, defrosting the frozen thawed mouse and waving it. She wasn't really receptive to it. She was definitely hungry because she was looking for the food. It was almost like she couldn't see it, or she didn't recognise that that was food even though she could smell it. And it wasn't till the next day when I was just generally having a look around her tank, making sure that she was okay and just kind of reorganising her bedding from where she'd moved it around, and I filled up her water dish, that she went to attack my fingers. She mistook one of my fingers for the mouse and she went for it. I ran downstairs, I got a mouse defrosting, and sure enough, when I offered it to her, she took it, and she actually struck a few times, like defensive striking, before she took it properly. And she still does do that, to be fair. She will strike the mouse a couple of times, like defensively, and then she will strike it and wrap around and eat it. But she's now a really good eater. She's just eating like an absolute champ, and she's grown so long. I think she's about 30 centimeters long now, and I'm so proud of her. I honestly didn't think she was going to live until after Christmas. I didn't think she was going to see the new year. I actually held off on naming her because originally I thought if she'd survived, I was just going to foster her and then find a new owner. But by the time like 2 weeks had passed, you know, she was just part of the family. But because I didn't really want to get too attached, I was just calling her Tiny Snake. I didn't want to give her a proper name because I was just trying to distance myself a little bit because I knew that she might not survive. And I get so attached to every animal in my care, and especially with it being Christmas, I was like, I don't know if I can deal with an animal dying on Christmas Day. So I was just calling her Tiny Snake, and the name kind of stuck, and now she's tiny, even though my mum calls her Twiglet. Oh, and I just want to say, I've never had her sexed. I have done my very best to sex her based on the shape of her tail. It might not be accurate, I have done my very best, but because I never plan to breed her, there is no point getting her properly sexed. I don't want to put her through the stress. So for all intents and purposes, Tiny's a girl, we think, and we're just gonna roll with that. So as of right now, Tiny is as happy as can be. She is eating so regularly. She has shed twice, and both sheds have been perfect, no issues at all, which I'm very pleased with. She has just made a massive recovery. I'm so pleased. She's my little survivor, aren't you? Yeah, she's my little survivor. I love her with all my heart. I can't actually convey to you how much I love her. I love her with every fibre of my being. I love her with all my heart. I'm so happy she pulled through, and she is just my little daughter. And I love her even though she does try and bite me, and she poos on me, and she musks me, but I know that's just because she's little, and fingers crossed with enough handling she will grow out of that, won't you? Yes, I love you. I love you, little tiny monster. Yes, she thinks she's a big snake. I haven't told her yet that she's not going to grow into a massive boa constrictor. I love you. Yeah, you're my tiny whiny. I love you. Hey. Look at that happy tongue waggle. She's doing so well. So I can't wait to share Tiny's growth with you. I can't wait for you to watch her grow up with me. I love it. She's made such leaps and bounds in just over 2 months. I can't wait to see what she's gonna look like in another 2 months, and then another 2 months, you know? Seriously, the love I have for this little noodle is so strong. Nobody can take me away from Tiny now. I love you. You're my Christmas miracle. Yes you are, you're my Christmas miracle, and I love you. If you can guys, try and adopt, don't shop. I won't preach it because I have bought snakes before. Tiny is my only rescue, but it's been so rewarding watching her grow and watching her recover from what she was like when I first got her. You know, I would love all you guys to take in a little animal if you have the chance and give it a wonderful home, but only do that of course if you are prepared and if you have the money and time to look after it and to pay for vet's bills and all that. It's been one of the most rewarding experiences of my life looking after Tiny, and I can't emphasize enough how wonderful it has been to spend this time with her. I love her so much. She's so long. I know, even though she's still tiny, like she was so much tinier before, she really was. I love you, Tiny Whiny. Yes, I love you. You're my little noodle. You're my little noodle. My little spicy noodle. Yes, you're my little spicy noodle. Yes, I love you. If you like me and you haven't had enough of me already, please consider following me on Twitter and Instagram. My name on both of those is Anachondriac, the same way it's spelt here on YouTube. If you like reptiles and the colour yellow, then you will definitely love my Instagram feed, just saying. So you should go and check me out right now. If you haven't yet subscribed, then please do. You can also give me a big thumbs up and click the little bell notification button, and then you will never miss one of my uploads. And if you want to support my channel, the link to my Patreon is in the description. Until next time guys, I'll see you later. Bye!